My name is Mr. Olson, and I am one of the English 8 reading teachers this year. Thank you for coming to watch my video for Open House in 2021, 2022. Um, I've been working here about, want to say 15 years, so this is year 15, and I've spent all 15 years as the 8th grade reading teacher, so I've got a bunch of experience around here. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing in our class. So first off, just a little bit of a tour of the classroom. As you can see here, this is the space that your kids are walking into when they come to my reading class every day. Yes, I do have a ton of Star Wars memorabilia that around. I'm a little bit of a Star Wars fan, as if you couldn't tell already. Uh, but that's enough about me. Let's go ahead and get into what we're doing here in the class. So a lot of what makes 8th grade reading what it is we're getting the students ready for their high school career. And so that means that a lot of the focus when we're in reading classes of getting them prepared with the skills that they need to be reading higher level materials and doing more rigorous things. So one of those things includes being able to identify the central idea or the main point of what it is that they're looking at in a text. We're also making inferences a lot. We're reading a lot of nonfiction informational texts because a lot of the stuff that you end up reading in high school is usually much, much drier. It is not mostly of the entertainment variety. That isn't to say that we don't read fiction in the classroom. We certainly do. But a lot of the focus kind of tends to shift away from fiction because we're worried less about, kind of going into imagination and more about trying to figure out like what's the author's purpose for something. We need to interpret why they're telling us the stories that they're telling us or why they're giving us the information that they're giving. And so we focus a lot on that in English 8. So let's go ahead and look ahead at some more here to kind of see what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. I always start my day off with a warm-up of some kind, and we call them chomps. So every morning, your student is probably doing one of these two things on a given day. On the left side, you can see that we have a prompt that looks very much like what you would see on a reading test for the PSSA or the state test that we usually do in May. So I try to expose the students each day to just a small question so that we can understand some of the strategies that are necessary to be able to answer these questions to the best of our ability. So a lot of the hints that we give, especially when you get random paragraphs from some text that you've never heard of before, I often tell my students, hey, don't just read this stuff because if you do, you're going to forget what you read because I mean it's not really particularly interesting. I mean, especially this prompt here, if you even glance at it, it's quite boring. But if you read the questions first, you kind of get an idea of, oh, that's why I'm reading this. So here's the stuff that I need to be looking for. And so we practice that often so that when we finally do get to that state exam in May, the students are already automatically trained to know how to handle this kind of stuff and go, all right, how am I supposed to tackle this kind of problem? On the right side is a writing example. We do a lot of writing prompts each day of the week as well. And mostly it's not only just to practice writing more often, but also to get the students in a mode of like, hey, you need to be able to answer a question with your opinion and be able to organize your thoughts with speed. And so, even though this is an 8 sentence or 8 sentence paragraph, and the question is really easy. I mean, it's all opinion. Who do you admire in history the most? It's not a really deep question. I'm not asking a lot of them here, but it is practice to be able to say, this is what I think, and here's how I think it. We're often very used to talking to our friends or our family who understand what makes us tick, how we operate. And unfortunately, that has a disadvantage because then when we write to someone who is a stranger, we leave a lot of details out. And so, this paragraph format that we use each day in class allows us to practice that skill of, okay, but what if the person doesn't really get me? What if they don't get the joke, even if I'm writing sarcastically? How would I explain to a stranger what it is that I see and feel? And so, this is that format that we use right here. So each day we're doing one of these two things as a warm up to start the day. A lot of the programs that we're using this year, reading materials in eighth grade, include things like Scholastic with the Scope magazine. A lot of our stuff is digital now, so with their Chromebooks, I'm able to give them the access to the articles right through Google Classroom. So it's very seamless. There's no way that they can lose the materials or things like that. And it's still very easy to read those the articles and stuff right off of there. So this is just one example that we've done in class before. This is a short story called Hard to Say. And so the story and all the materials are included in one localized area, as you can see right here. Um, And also, here's just an example of some of like kind of the reading prompts that they're given after they're done reading the text. And so all these things are done through my Google Classroom and is an easy way for students to kind of access and receive their learning without having to carry around a bunch of separate books and binders and stuff like that. Um, Other things that we do, we are also using the new ClassLink that all of Wash High has instituted. And ClassLink is just the homepage that they can go to on their Chromebooks. We in particular use this because that's how we access our class textbook. So our textbook is also now digital and online. It's called Ed, Your Friend in Learning. It's a so it's a literature series, and everything is included online, just like with the Scope magazine. So a lot of our short stories and even some that we read, and some of the non-informational, or I'm sorry, the informational text, the nonfiction text that we'll be reading are on this website as well. So while I post the majority of my assignments to Google Classroom, some of the reading materials are on this Ed Your Friend in Learning website. So when they get on Ed Your Friend, you'll see that all the units are in here. It is a website, but I assure you, it's basically just the book divided into the website. So if you're used to going to school and having a large textbook with bunches of short stories and reading prompts and questions and stuff like that, this website essentially takes that textbook and just puts it on the screen for them. And again, this makes it a lot easier than lugging around a heavy textbook where we only read about half the pages and you're wondering why you're carrying all the weight in your book bag. Now we can just access it from our Chromebooks. So this is just an example of that. We've been going through most of Unit 1, and this month we're going to be finally heading into Unit 2, the thrill of horror, where we start reading some scary stories and talking about how tone and mood works in a story and suspense and things like that. Some of the articles that we've already been reading in this literature textbook, we just finished reading two non-informational texts about how technology affects jobs. So you can see these stories side by side. And yeah, we've been working on those. And again, a lot of the questions and a lot of the purpose of doing this kind of text in eighth grade is to be able to read something and not just know the information that's inside of it, but to understand what the author's point of view is. What is it that they're thinking? Why are they sharing this information? And we even have students now writing an argumentative essay in which they take the side of one of the authors and say, yeah, I agree with this person that technology is going to be helpful for jobs in the future, or that I think technology isn't going to be helpful. And they read these two articles to help them come to their own opinion, and they'll even use these articles to defend why they believe what they believe, which is the whole point of eighth grade reading. Why do you believe what do you believe? And can you communicate that effectively to someone that isn't just your friend or yourself? This concludes our presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach me at my email, which is olsonr@prexy.org. Um, I check those emails on Gmail all the time, and I can respond to you as quickly as possible. I look forward to working with you and your students, and I'm confident that we're going to have a very positive year for this year in reading class. So thanks again for watching this video, and I hope to see you soon.